Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my ranking for every new release I saw in theaters for December 2019. The final month of 2019 and the final month of the entire decade for film. Make sure you are watching out for all of my end of the year and end of the decade lists and videos as they continue to be released here on the channel. But amongst all of those lists and countdowns, we can't forget to complete our year of monthly ranking videos. So with this video, this is officially 2 years that we've been doing monthly rankings here on the channel. So thank you all so much for continuing to watch these videos, commenting with your own rankings, and of course supporting me and supporting my channel. It means so much. So as we jump into 2020, I just want to say thank you and tell you how much I appreciate all of you. Now, December is quite the month because many of the films I've included here on the ranking were films I saw in November at the Denver Film Festival. However, they did receive at least a limited release in the States throughout the month of December, so that's why they'll be included. Between those limited release indies, the big major blockbusters, and the Netflix films, I ended up with 18 total new movies for the month of December. Whew. Now, just a quick reminder, this is my list. This is how I view these films and how I enjoyed them. It has nothing to do with box office, critical reception, or anything other than how they resonated with me. Also, I can only rank what I've seen. I'm sure that there were some films that slipped through the cracks throughout the month that I missed, but 18 seems like quite a bit to me. So let me go ahead and shut my big trap and get into the ranking. Coming in at number 18, aka Dead Last, we have Black Christmas. Oh, what a hot mess. A slasher film with almost no slashing. A remake that pretty much just shares the title and nearly nothing else. This movie is basically an excuse to be a preachy mess of a movie that goes about exuding female empowerment in literally every single wrong way I could think of. It's not fun, there are no scares, it's poorly acted, characters are absolutely stupid. We don't even get awesome badass women doing awesome badass things until like the last 5 minutes of the film, and even that isn't done right. Black Christmas was definitely the worst movie I saw in December. And honestly, one of the worst movies I saw in all of 2019. At number 17, I have Playmobil, the movie. Or, as it should be called, Lego Movie, the completely inferior ripoff. Yes, Playmobil, the movie, is pretty much what everybody feared the Lego Movie would be. A complete and total commercial without any sort of heart or redeeming factor. Live action sequences and musical moments all included. Yet none of it was done well. The animation was just okay, and this type of commercial drivel aimed directly at children is pretty repulsive to me, and not something I could easily get around. The Playmobil, yeah, I'm glad you flopped at the box office, and hope we don't get another product like this anytime in the near future. Coming in at number 16, I have Cats. Yes, the adaptation of the hit Broadway musical was terrible. I'm sorry, I know many of you have enjoyed it. There are cat warriors out there fighting the good fight, but I thought this was a hot mess pretty much across the board. The only thing I have to say is thank you to Tom Hooper for giving us that amazing Jennifer Hudson rendition of Memory, because everything else in here is misguided. Cockroaches with human faces being eaten by cats as they unzip and strip off their own skin. Mice with faces being threatened to be eaten by cats if they don't perform. We have 2 hours of just introduction after introduction after introduction after introduction, yet here I am sitting here not able to name off more than 2 of these cats. And I can't tell, is the end message that death is the ultimate prize to be won and strive for? Or just straight up, as Judi Dench says, cats are not dogs. The CGI is just as horrifying as we all imagined, with these horrific faces floating on these poorly rendered cat bodies. And when I saw the film, They still all had human hands. Yikes. This was horrifying. Not to mention the fact that there was so much dang rubbing up on each other in this movie. I expected a cat orgy to break out at any moment. This is just so bonkers. It makes it above the other two, but it's still a no from me. Blasting in at number 15, I have Six Underground. The film that Netflix gave Michael Bay $150 million to make. Are you kidding me, Netflix? You are just burning your money at this point, aren't you? Six Underground is quite literally the most Michael Bay movie I have ever watched in my entire life. He was just let loose, and he delivered every single trope that you come to anticipate from a Michael Bay movie, and did it over and over and over again. The problem with this is that it's just so boring. I don't think that he understands that when you just have non-stop explosions, loud talking, action, corny dad jokes over and over for 2 hours straight, people just check out. And I was completely checked out by the end of that first car chase action sequence. Not to mention this first act was so horrible, with all of these time jumps back and forth and back and back and back and forth and then back and back and one more up for where are we? Where are we? What are we doing? And why should I care? Even Ryan Reynolds, who's usually so charismatic and really fun and funny, was delivering wretched jokes. This movie was just bad. Some things are so over the top that they're funny, but ugh. Coming in at number 14, I have In Fabric. Now, I think this movie is actually my personal guilty pleasure a la Cats, because even with something like Cats existing, this was the weirdest, craziest movie I saw in all of 2019. In Fabric is literally about this, I don't know, demon dress that haunts whoever wears it. And once you've taken it off, you're like marked until you die. Just to kind of put into perspective how bonkers this movie truly is, there's a moment in this film where a guy is orally pleasuring Gwendolyn Christie, and she looks up at the wall, and the dress is like mocking her in the same position, like writhing before it attacks. And then we get to this final act where everything just goes bonkers. But honestly, that was the best part of the whole film, was just the madness of that third act. Plus this store clerk and her sass and her like over-the-top reads were pretty amazing. Otherwise, this was just nonsensical madness from start to finish. I was literally just sitting there, mouth wide open, wondering what in the world am I watching. Definitely an experience if you get the chance to watch it, but yeah, an experience is just about all I have to say about it. Coming in at number 13, I have Uncut Gems. Oh, I know! Block the tomatoes now! I know you all loved this film. I did not. I'm sorry. I found this to be one of the most obnoxious things I watched in all of 2019. Everybody is talking about how you're just on the edge of your seat and it has you like anxiety ridden and ready to have a panic attack at any moment because you're so engrossed. I was literally checked out and reaching for the Tylenol because this just kind of gave me a headache. It was so loud, in your face, one note brash for about 85% of it that I didn't care about these characters, thus I didn't care about the plight they were going through or the story, and thus it lost all of that like thrilling, gripping atmosphere that so many people have been able to relate with it. Adam Sandler is good in the film, particularly when we calm down for a second and he gets to actually show any sort of human emotion. But the story is just so convoluted and jumping all over the place without any sort of good messaging or lesson to be learned here. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand what the big hoopla is over Uncut Gems. I found it to just be a really one-note, underwhelming, pretty obnoxious film. In at number 12, I have Jumanji, The Next Level. That's right, I put Jumanji above Uncut Gems because if you asked me which one I'd rather sit down and watch today, I would pick Jumanji. For sure. It was just a much better viewing experience for me. That's kind of saying something because I didn't love Jumanji either. This was basically a retread of the first film. I felt like I was just watching the first movie all over again, but this time The Rock was doing a horrific Danny DeVito impression. Kevin Hart was fun with his little Danny Glover impression, and Jack Black obviously steals the show pretty much throughout. And there is a little bit of heart in here that you see forecasted from quite a bit away. But this is serviceable. It's fine. It delivers exactly what the first one did, just again. And I don't really have much else to say about it. That's why it's stuck here at number 12. Coming in at number 11, I have Richard Jewell. Now, there actually was a lot that I enjoyed about Richard Jewell. Mostly, the actual story itself is really one that should be told, and I commend Clint Eastwood for making this story, though it is very in line with the type of real-life stories Clint Eastwood is known to make. Plus, the acting performances are really fantastic from everyone in this film. They kill it. However, I did find it just a tad bit hard to get invested in the film because it makes its position clear from the get-go, which is fine. I mean, I don't really have a problem with that. But instead of letting everything be up in the air and kind of be a more procedural thriller type of real-life drama, it is just kind of a pleading the case and proving innocence. So it's a little bit less on the intriguing side of things in that front. Also, the reporter character is terrible. I'm sorry, I know they've tried to defend it. If it all is a lie, it's completely and totally offensive and really appalling that this characterization was put into the film. And even if there is truth to some of the relationships shown with this female reporter in the film, the way she is depicted as being completely and totally incompetent at her job is still offensive and honestly unnecessary. If anything, it detracts from the film as a whole and kind of just leaves Richard Jewell at a place of being a good, solid film, a much better effort than Clint Eastwood has put forth in a few years, but far from anything great. Kicking off our top 10, I have A Hidden Life. A Hidden Life is the latest film from director Terrence Malick, and I think this is Terrence Malick at maybe his most tolerable. Now listen, I have loved Terrence Malick films before. I've also fallen asleep during Terrence Malick films before, and this is like Terrence Malick to a T. First off, the performances are stunning. I think the performances are actually fantastic in this film, and the story itself is wonderful, and what it represents is even more beautiful. And of course, it's Terrence Malick, and this cinematography is breathtaking. It is impeccably shot from start to finish, and that original score, oh, it is absolutely gorgeous. So on most every technical level, this is a beautifully made film. However, it's too long. As you anticipate with these Terrence Malick films, enjoyment of the film at large is difficult because it is just so long and meandering. There are big chunks in the middle of this movie that are not necessary. We don't go off into random foolery or anything. It stays pretty clear. It has more narrative than certainly a lot of recent Malick films, but we just meander aimlessly in the middle of this movie without getting ahead, without understanding characters more, without understanding anything more. We're just there. It's a well-crafted, beautiful film, but one that I don't see myself going back to in the near future. So it comes in at number 10. At number 9, I have The Aeronauts. I actually enjoyed this film overall. I think it was a pretty solid movie with a really great performance, particularly from Felicity Jones. And the like Daredevil type of moments, the big action sets in this film are breathtaking, like edge of your seat, beautifully shot. Moments of like complete terror if you have a fear of heights. I'll say that. The effects across the board in this film are great, and I do think this story is solid. I just wish it wasn't like almost completely fabricated. That's really what keeps The Aeronauts from moving up. When we're exploring these people and their backstory, so much of it isn't even real. It doesn't even matter in the scope of it all. There is a pro-female message in here that again would be awesome if she had ever been a real human. So it serves well as a great like popcorn piece, but you can see it wanted to be so much more than that, and it's never able to quite live up to that expectation of oneself. So Here we are, kicking off the top half of the countdown. In at number 8, I have Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. My relationship with this film is so complicated. Obviously, I'm rocking a Star Wars shirt. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, always have been. The Star Wars movie is still my favorite film of all time. And as that big fan, I, of course, had fun with the movie at large. There were a lot of great moments. The big action set pieces were great. The moments between Rey and Kylo Ren were really strong. I love Poe Dameron. I love BB-8. Getting to see so many of the old cast members one last time was really, really fantastic. And I thought they all were pretty much utilized in the best way possible. But my goodness, there is so much I did not like in this film, and I left the theater feeling quite hollow and a bit disappointed. There was so much fan service stuffed into this movie that was just not good. The sense of the plot is all over the place, and this movie committed the ultimate crime that I'm always so against in Star Wars films. We kept shrinking the universe. More so than maybe any time in the past. Everybody had to be related to everybody else. We had to know everybody else. And it just was like, really? Visually, it's beautiful. Script-wise, not so much. We move so fast and shove so much nonsense in here that we have no time to develop characters, to develop plot points, or even address certain plots. I'm so glad John Williams delivered this amazing score for his last go-around. I just wish the film had been that amazing for the final go-round of the Skywalker saga. I keep going back and forth on whether I just don't like it or if I think it's fine. But here it is. Unfortunately, down at number 8. At number 7, I have The Two Popes. So this Netflix film is quite the awards contender this year, and I can certainly see why, because Jonathan Pryce is amazing in this movie. Definitely would make my personal shortlist for Best Lead Actor of the Year. He was so good, as was Anthony Hopkins, and their chemistry, their camaraderie together, bouncing off of one another was so good. And honestly, you wouldn't think a film about two old guys who are also popes sitting there talking would be this entertaining. But these two masters of their craft deliver, and that's what makes it so engrossing and captivating to watch. Having said that, I think we do too many of the flashback scenes when we're not physically there with Jonathan Pryce and Anthony Hopkins. The film starts to lose steam for me. Right around that second act, the film drags just a bit, and that's really what keeps it from being one of the great films in my book for 2019, but it was still a very solid film with two amazing performances at its center. Coming in at number 6, I have Spies in Disguise. I had a lot of fun with this movie. First off, Will Smith is so good. I'm glad that we are back to Will Smith giving performances with some life to them yet again. And he was having a blast on this film. Tom Holland was also fantastic, as was Rashida Jones. Our entire cast. Ben Mendelsohn, villain again, but he does it so well, so I guess that's probably where he's gonna stay. But really, you can just feel the love between Will Smith and Tom Holland. And I have to say, I mean, I love him, so I can see the appeal. But it seems Tom Holland develops like these awesome, really friendly relationships with everyone he works with. But the animation is really fun. The action is shot very well. I thought the humor was about 50-50, but when it landed, it was a lot of fun. And the messaging and story of this film being anti-violence and finding another way in an action spy film was really what pushed this movie over the edge for me. So I had a blast with Spies in Disguise. And that's why it's all the way up at number 6. Kicking off our top 5, we have Bombshell. Now, this was a really solid film across the board. First of all, these actresses all deliver, as does John Lithgow. But it's the three ladies who really run the show here. Charlize Theron is stellar in this movie, as is the makeup and hair department, because she is completely transformed into Megyn Kelly. From her as an actress to her appearance, she loses herself in the role and delivers so much in this character. Margot Robbie is also so good in such a meaty role that she's allowed to work with. And then we have Nicole Kidman, who has much less screen time, but still delivers a punch. As I said, John Lithgow is also fantastic in this movie, as is Kate McKinnon. I can't forget about her and her really great performance. And then we have that story, this really riveting, important story to be told, and I think a great script is worked around it to deliver the message that needed to be said. What keeps Bombshell from moving up into my top 4 and possibly competing for one of my favorite films of the year is that I think it's a little bit sanitized. I don't think that we quite delve into accountability with everybody involved as deeply as we should, and as deeply as we could have. It seems to back off and play it just a little bit too safe for my personal liking, but overall, it's a really solid film with some fantastic performances. So it's number 5. Coming in at number 4, I have Clemency. Yes, this little indie film is starting to roll out nationwide. Fortunately, I got to see it at the Denver Film Festival, and I loved it. One of the deepest, most harrowing films of the year that delivers an amazing lead performance from Alfre Woodard. This movie centers around Woodard as a prison ward for a facility that performs death penalties, and we follow her as she prepares to perform her 12th death sentence. And it unfolds in such a riveting and deep way. First off, Woodard gives maybe a performance of her entire career. Conveying this character was no easy feat, and she does it with ease. The sternness and the outer hard shell that she presents as a person, having to break through and show the cracks that are in fact eroding from the inside, was really something beautiful to watch from Woodard. And the script is absolutely fantastic. This prison ward who is struggling and grappling within herself on what it is her job is asking her to do, and slowly but surely we as the audience see that starting to come to the forefront. That all felt immensely real and authentic. Plus we have Aldous Hodge, who is fantastic in this movie. He gives yet another great performance. And it really builds up the tension as we're leading up to these final moments. It never answers questions outright, but instead it asks the question of morality. And I think that's what's really special about this film particularly. Coming in at number 3, I have Little Women. What a wonderful film from writer-director Greta Gerwig. Now, I enjoyed Lady Bird, but I wasn't head over heels like so many others. And I actually think this is a better film overall than Lady Bird for her sophomore effort. I love how Gerwig is able to bring modern day sensibilities to this classic material without ruining or jeopardizing the original classic material. It has all of the sensibilities that it needs, but with a little bit of a twist, and I thought the twist worked perfectly. Saoirse Ronan is wonderful as Jo and really delivers on that character. Florence Pugh pretty much steals the show here as Amy, and she's so good. Timothée Chalamet was the perfect Laurie for this film particularly. And Laura Dern, for me, this is her best performance of the year. Plus we have Meryl Streep, who is just wonderful in everything, and she delivers yet again. But it's a heartwarming film that has a lot to say without pulling a Black Christmas and preaching at you. It delivers it all organically in a passionate, heartfelt way. Gerwig has a clear understanding and vision of the material in arguably the best rendition to this classic story we've had to date. Alright, now that we are at the top 2, this was a tough one to decide. But ultimately, coming up in my runner-up position at number 2, I have Portrait of a Lady on Fire. This is another film that I got to see at the Denver Film Festival, which received a very limited release in early December before going wide next year. Oh my gosh, I loved this movie. What a fantastic forbidden love story. First of all, the direction is so impeccable in this movie. From shot selection to the picture composition is flawless throughout. The editing is flawless throughout. And the cinematography, one of the most beautifully shot films of 2019. And this provides yet another story, much like Little Women, actually, both period pieces, that delivers a really strong and impactful message about a woman's place in the world for the time in such a nuanced and authentic way. And I have to admit, I'm a sucker for forbidden love LGBTQ representation stories, and this one does it at the top of the game. The acting is all sincere and beautiful. The script is stellar. Honestly, there's just about nothing wrong with this film. It is top-notch cinema at its finest, and one of the best from 2019. When you get a chance, make sure you seek out Portrait of a Lady on Fire. It's worth the wait. What tops that? What can beat out a near-perfect film? Well, another near-perfect film. So coming in at number 1, my favorite film for December 2019, I have 1917. Now this is quite the shock for myself because war films are not really my forte. I don't always love them, and oftentimes I feel them to be quite a bit redundant. But Sam Mendes delivered such a perfectly executed film, period, that I was immersed literally from the moment this movie kicks off all the way to those credits. It's a shot in the style of a one-shot, and and I have to say, I don't think Birdman's got anything on this. It is done so impeccably well with actual organic long takes that are some of the most impressive I've ever seen on screen. The set, the production design is insane because we follow these characters for long stretches, walking and moving and constantly in motion. I mean, long stretches here, y'all. And there is no break. We have this entire set built. It's astonishing. I think the acting is solid pretty much across the board. From every single technical aspect, this is a pitch-perfect film with my favorite original score of 2019. The music is spot on, perfect. It builds tension, it provides relief, it gives catharsis, all in a pretty singular, focused war story that honestly goes down as one of the best war films in the history of cinema, and we know that is a long list. And that is pretty much why I have 1917 as my favorite film from December 2019. And as you'll soon see when my best of 2019 video is released, one of my favorite films of the year. So that's it. That is my ranking for every film I saw in December 2019. What did you think of how I ranked these films? Have you seen them? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Most importantly, what does your ranking look like for all of the films you saw in the month of December? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. Also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on my latest videos. I love you all so much for your continued support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!